This backpack cost me $1,800. Inside, there's a water filter, fire starter kit, emergency shelter, GPS device, first aid supplies, and enough gear to survive anything. Watch this. I'm dumping all of it right here. Every piece, gone. For the next 72 hours, I'm walking into the Montana wilderness with nothing. No backpack, no tools, no phone. Just the clothes on my body and the knowledge in my head. Most people think that's suicide. Most people are wrong, because 3 days from now, I'm going to walk back out alive, warm, fed, and hydrated. And I'm going to prove that everything you've been told about survival is backwards. The gear doesn't save you, knowledge does. Let me show you how. 2 years ago, I was that guy with all the gear, spent thousands on equipment, felt invincible. Then I got lost on a simple day hike in Colorado. My GPS battery died, my fancy fire starter got wet and wouldn't work. My emergency blanket ripped on a branch, and I spent the coldest night of my life shivering in expensive gear that failed when it mattered. That night changed everything, because I realized something terrifying. I had outsourced my survival to objects, and objects break, batteries die, plastic tears, zippers jam, but knowledge can't die, can't break, can't run out of power. So I spent 2 years learning what humans did before Ray existed, before batteries, before plastic. And what I found changed how I think about survival completely. Here's the test. I'm starting at this trailhead right now. It's 42 degrees. Forecast says it'll drop to 28 tonight. Rain expected tomorrow. I need to stay warm without a sleeping bag. Make fire without matches. Find water without a filter. Navigate without GPS. Build shelter without a tent. If I fail any of these, I could die. Hypothermia kills in hours, not days. Dehydration shuts down your organs. One bad decision in the wilderness, and you don't get a second chance. But here's what makes this interesting. Everything I'm about to do, humans have done for 200,000 years. This isn't new. This isn't extreme. This is how your ancestors lived every single day. The only difference, they knew these skills from childhood. You're about to learn them in the next 18 minutes. First survival priority. Fire, not shelter, not water. Fire. Because fire does everything. It boils water so you can drink. That it keeps you warm so you don't freeze. It dries wet clothes so hypothermia can't kill you. It signals rescuers so they can find you. No fire means you're fighting survival with one hand tied behind your back. Most people think making fire without matches is impossible. It's not. It's just slow. And that's the first lesson. Survival isn't about speed. It's about patience. I'm looking for 3 things. Tinder, kindling, fuel. Wood tinder burns with just a spark. I'm collecting dry grass from under this fallen log. Even though it rained yesterday, grass protected by dead wood stays dry. Nature creates her own storage. Kindling catches from tinder. Small twigs, pencil thin, completely dry. I'm snapping dead branches still attached to trees. If it snaps clean, it's dry. If it bends, it's wet. Your ears tell you what your eyes can't. Fuel wood keeps fire alive. Wrist-thick branches, arm-thick logs. I'm gathering more than I think I need. In survival, there's no such thing as too much firewood. Now comes the hard part, creating the spark. I'm building a bow drill. Sounds fancy. It's not. It's a stick spinning against another stick using friction to create heat. Spindle, straight branch about the thickness of my thumb. Cottonwood works best. Pine works too. Smooth it down, round off the ends. Fireboard, flat piece of wood. Same species as the spindle. Carve a small notch in the edge. This is where the ember will form. Bow curved stick with cordage wrapped around it. I'm using the shoelace from my boot. In a real emergency, with no shoelaces, you make cordage from plant fibers. That's a whole different skill we'll cover later. Socket, small piece of hard wood or stone that fits in your palm. This holds the top of the spindle while it spins. Now watch. Wrap the bowstring around the spindle once. Place the bottom in the fireboard notch. Hold the socket on top. Start moving the bow back and forth. Slow at first. Find the rhythm. The spindle starts turning. Friction creates heat. Heat creates dust. That dust collects in the notch dot. Keep going. Steady pressure down. Smooth motion sideways. Don't rush. Rushing breaks rhythm. Broken rhythm means starting over. The dust turns brown, then darker. Then it starts smoking there. Smoke. Real smoke. Carefully lift the fireboard. In the notch sits a tiny coal, glowing red at the edges. This is pure heat, concentrated energy. Remember this coal, still glowing, still hot. Most people would use it to light their fire and forget about it. That's the amateur move. Watch this. I'm taking a piece of punkwood from that dead birch tree over there. Punkwood is wood that started rotting but isn't completely decayed yet. Feels like styrofoam, tears apart icily. But here's the magic. It holds heat like nothing else in nature. I'm placing my coal right in the center of this chunk. Now I'm wrapping it in fresh green leaves. Sounds backwards, right? Green leaves are wet. Won't they put the fire out? No, because I'm not trying to make flame. I'm trying to keep the coal breathing, just barely alive. The moisture in the leaves creates steam. That steam limits oxygen. Limited oxygen means the coal can't burst into flame, but it also can't die. Now I'm wrapping the whole thing in dry grass for insulation, and placing it in this small leather pouch I made from my belt. This coal will stay alive for 8 hours, maybe 12 if I'm careful. When I wake up tomorrow morning, I won't need to do the bow drill again. I'll just unwrap this, blow on it gently, and have fire in 30 seconds instead of 12 minutes. This is how humans carried fire across continents. Before matches existed, before lighters, before civilization, they didn't make fire every single day. That's exhausting. Burns calories you can't afford to waste. Instead, they became firekeepers. They maintained the spark, protected it, carried it. And here's something that'll make you rethink everything. Archaeologists found evidence of kept coals that are over 40,000 years old. Neanderthals did this. Not modern humans, Neanderthals. Firekeeping is older than language, older than art, older than farming. It's one of the most ancient human technologies still in use today. But outdoor companies don't teach this. Why would they? Can't sell you a $50 for a cerium rod if you learn to keep a coal alive for free. Now, here's the problem. Fire keeps you warm, but fire doesn't keep you hydrated. And dehydration kills faster than cold. I need water. And I need it before nightfall. There's no stream here, no obvious water source. Most people would panic, start wandering randomly. That's how you get more lost and more dehydrated. But the land is talking. You just have to know the language. First sign, insects. See these gnats swarming near that cluster of willow trees. Gnats need moisture to breed. Willows need water to survive. Where you find both together, water is close. Second sign, animal trails. These deer tracks converge from different directions and lead downhill into that depression. Animals don't walk randomly, they walk to resources. And the biggest resource in any wilderness is water. Third sign, vegetation color. Look at this section of hillside. Most of the grass is brown and dry, but that patch down there, darker green, thicker growth. Plants don't get greener by accident. They get greener because their roots found water. I'm following the convergence point, where the animal trails meet, where the green vegetation clusters, where the land naturally funnels down. And there, right there, you see it. Seep spring, water bubbling up through moss and rocks. Not a stream, not a pond, just a wet spot where groundwater breaks the surface. Flow rate is maybe a cup every 2 minutes. Slow, but reliable. Here's where most survival shows lie to you. They show someone finding water and drinking immediately, cupping their hands, taking big gulps, celebrating. That's Russian roulette with bacteria. You know what lives in natural water? Giardia, Cryptosporidium, E. coli, parasites that'll turn your intestines inside out, make you vomit and soil yourself while you're trying to survive. Dehydration kills in 3 days, but severe diarrhea from contaminated water kills faster, because now you're losing water from both ends. Your body can't hold on to anything. You spiral down fast. So here's the rule that'll save your life. Clear water is not clean water. Beautiful mountain streams carry the same parasites as stagnant ponds. If you didn't personally witness that water falling from the sky, you filter it or you boil it. No exceptions. And since I don't have a filter, I'm boiling. But wait, how do you boil water without a metal pot? This is where rock boiling comes in. Technique older than pottery, older than metal, still works perfectly. I'm using this piece of birch bark, folding it into a container. Birch bark is waterproof. The resins in the wood naturally seal it. You can hold water in folded bark as long as you're careful. Now I'm filling it from the seep spring. Takes 5 minutes to collect 2 cups. Patience again. Survival is slow. Back at my fire, I'm heating rocks. Not just any rocks. Avoid river rocks. Avoid rocks with moisture inside. When wet rocks get heated, the water inside turns to steam. Steam expands, rock explodes, shrapnel flies everywhere. I'm using dry granite from up the hillside, sitting them at the edge of my fire, letting them heat for 10 minutes until they glow dull red. Now watch this. I'm using 2 sticks as tongs, carefully lifting a hot rock, dropping it into the birch bark container. The water erupts, steam hisses, the rock sizzles. In 30 seconds, that water is boiling, rolling boil, hot enough to kill every parasite, every bacteria, every microorganism that wants to destroy you from the inside. I'm adding 3 rocks total. Each one brings the water back to a boil. I'm maintaining that boil for 3 full minutes. That's the safe zone. 3 minutes of boiling kills everything dangerous. The birch bark container doesn't burn. You know why? Because water absorbs the heat before the bark can reach ignition temperature. The part touching water stays cool enough to survive. The part above waterline would burn, but I didn't fill it that high. This is physics working with you instead of against you. After 3 minutes, I'm using a stick to fish out the rocks. The water is still hot but drinkable. I'm letting it cool for 5 minutes. Then I drink. Slowly, small sips. Your body absorbs water better when you don't chug. That's 2 cups of safe water. Cost me about 30 minutes total. Found the source, collected it, boiled it, cooled it, drank it. Compare that to carrying a water filter. Filter costs $80, weighs 8 ounces, has moving parts that break, has a filter that clogs, needs replacement cartridges. My method costs nothing, weighs nothing, works forever. Can't break because there's nothing to break. The sun is dropping. Temperature with it. I've got fire. I've got water. Now I need the 3rd survival priority before darkness makes everything harder. Shelter. Not a tent. Not a tarp. Not anything you can buy at a store. I'm talking about a debris hut, built entirely from materials within 50 feet of where I'm standing. And when I'm done, it'll keep me warmer than a sleeping bag rated to 0 degrees. Sound impossible? Let me show you how a pile of dead leaves becomes better insulation than anything synthetic humans ever invented, and why the shape of your shelter matters more than what it's made of. Night is coming. Temperature is already dropping to 35 degrees. My fire is going. Water is safe. But without shelter, all that heat will escape. Your body loses warmth fast when you're exposed. Wind steals it. Ground sucks it up. Rain makes it worse. Shelter isn't about comfort. It's about survival. A good shelter keeps your core temperature at 98.6, drop below 95, and hypothermia starts. Confusion, shaking, then death. I'm building a debris hut. No tent, no nails, no rope, just sticks and leaves within arm's reach. This design is older than Vikings, used by indigenous people everywhere from Alaska to Africa, and it works because it copies nature. Animals burrow. We can too. First, find your ridgepole. That's a long straight branch, about as tall as you plus 2 feet. I'm propping one end on this low forked tree. The other end on the ground creates a slant, like a lean-to but stronger. Why slant? Flat shelters collect rain. Steep shelters let water run off. This angle is perfect. 45 degrees, keeps you dry without wasting space. Now ribs. Smaller branches leaned against both sides of the ridgepole, like making a rib cage. Space them every foot. Not too close, not too far. They need to support the next layer without collapsing. I'm using dead branches only. Green ones bend too much. Snap dry ones to test. If it cracks clean, it's good. If it splinters wet, leave it. The deadly mistake people make here, building too big. A big shelter looks nice but loses heat. Airspace means cold pockets. Make it just big enough for your body. Shoulder width, length of your height. That's it. Watch this time-lapse. I'm adding cross pieces. Weaving thinner sticks horizontally across the ribs creates a lattice, like a basket. This holds the insulation in place. Total frame time, 15 minutes. No tools, just hands. Now the magic. Debris, that's dead. Leaves, pine needles, dry grass, anything fluffy and dry. I'm piling it on, not just a thin layer. Thick 2 feet deep on the sides, 3 feet on top. Why so much? Insulation. Each leaf traps air. Air doesn't conduct heat well. Stack millions of air pockets, and you create a barrier. Cold stays out. Your body heat stays in. I'm stuffing it inside too. Floor needs a foot of debris. Sleep on that. Not bare ground. Ground steals 30% of your heat through contact. This debris mattress breaks that connection. Test this. I'm using a thermal camera. Bare ground shows blue, cold. Debris pile shows yellow, warm. That color difference is 20 degrees. 20 degrees that keeps you alive. Modern sleeping bags use synthetic fill. Costs $200, weighs 2 pounds, but leaves free. Weigh nothing to carry because they're everywhere. Entrance is key. Make it small. Face away from wind. I'm adding a door plug. Bundle of branches you pull in after you crawl inside. Feels tight. That's good. Your breath warms the space. Your body heat builds up. In 2 hours, this hut will be 55 degrees inside when it's 25 outside. The shape matters more than materials. Rounded top sheds snow. Low profile blocks wind. Narrow space minimizes air to heat. I survived a snowstorm in one of these last winter. Wind howled. Snow piled up. Inside, dry and warm enough to sleep without shivering. But here's the mistake that kills. Building near water or in low spots. Flash floods happen. Cold air sinks to valleys. Build on slight rises, away from streams. Check for widowmakers too, dead branches overhead that fall in wind. This hut took 45 minutes total. Disassembles in 5. Leaves no trace. Better than a tent that rips or poles that break. Native Americans called this a wickiup. Africans in the East call it a boma, but the principle is the same. Work with nature, not against it. Lewis and Clark's expedition survived winters this way. No fancy gear, just knowledge. In 1805, they built debris huts during blizzards, stayed alive while temperatures hit -40. Modern hikers die every year because they trust their tent more than their skills. Tent fails, they're done. But with this, you're never without shelter. Night 1, complete. Fire kept me fed, water kept me going, shelter kept me warm. But tomorrow, I need to move. Find, rescue, or find home. That's navigation. No compass, no map. Sun's up. Not great, but alive. Now the getting unlost principle. Lost isn't about location. It's about direction. Find one reliable direction and you can walk to civilization. First tool, sun. Not just where it rises. Shadows tell more. I'm sticking a straight branch in the ground, marking the tip of its shadow with a rock. Wait 15 minutes. Shadow moves. Mark the new tip. Line from first mark to second points west to east. First mark west, second east. Now I know all directions. Works anywhere, any time of day, as long as sun shines. But what about cloudy days? Trees give hints. Look at this pine. Branches thicker on south side. In northern hemisphere, sun hits south more. Trees grow fuller there. Moss too, grows thicker on north side of trees. Away from sun moisture there. Combine them sun shadow for confirmation. Tree branches for backup. Last year, a hiker in Oregon used this, got separated from group. No signal. Walked south using tree moss. Hit a road in 4 hours. But navigation isn't just direction. It's cordage too. Because to survive moving, you need to tie things. Secure loads. Make tools. Watch how I turn plants into rope stronger than paracord. And why this skill replaces half your backpack. Day 2. Sun high. I've got fire, water, shelter. Now I need to move smarter. Carry things without dropping them. Secure my load. Make a sling if I twist an ankle. All that requires rope. Real rope. Not the kind you buy. The kind you make. I'm looking for nettles. Stinging nettles sounds painful, and it is. But the fibers inside are stronger than cotton. Tougher than jute. Used by people for thousands of years before shops existed. Pick the tall ones. Grab near the base. Pull up sharply. The stalk comes out whole. Strip the leaves fast. Wear gloves if you have them. I don't, so I go quick. Now the processing. Roll the stalk between my hands. Crush it. The outer bark splits. Inside you find long white fibers. Peel them apart. They're ready. I'm twisting 2 bundles together. Twist one clockwise, the other counterclockwise. Then twist them around each other opposite ways. That opposite twist locks them. Creates cordage that won't unravel. Test it. Pull hard. Doesn't break. Tie it around my wrist. Holds my weight. This stuff supported bows, fishing nets, shelters for centuries. One plant gives me 10 feet of cord. Find a patch. Make 50 feet in an hour. Replaces paracord that costs $20 and weighs ounces you don't need. Cordage is useless without knots. 2 knots beat most of what people carry. First, bowline, the king of knots. Makes a fixed loop that won't slip. Won't tighten under load. Won't jam when wet. How to tie it. Make a small loop. Pass the end up through the loop. Around the standing part. back down through the loop, pull tight. The rabbit comes out of the hole, around the tree, back down the hole. I use it now. Loop around this log, pull, hold solid. If I need to, haul wood or climb a short drop. This knot won't choke me. Second, clove hitch, quick, simple. Ties to a pole or tree, won't slip sideways. Add a half hitch for extra security. Wrap once around the pole, cross over, wrap again, tuck the end under the cross, pull, done. I tie my cordage bundle to my belt with a clove hitch. Won't fall off when I run, won't strangle the bundle. These 2 knots cover 90% of survival needs: shelter lashing, food hanging, rescue signals. No fancy, not book required. Practice them 10 times. They become muscle memory. Modern gear has buckles that break, zippers that jam. Knots only fail if you tie them wrong. And you control that. Body has fire, water, shelter, tools. Mind is the real battlefield. Panic kills faster than cold. Heart races, decisions blur. You run in circles, burn energy, make mistakes. I use box breathing, learned it from special forces. 4 counts in, hold 4, out 4, hold 4, repeat, sitting here, chest tight from the cold. I breathe, in 4, hold out, 4, hold, heart rate drops, thoughts clear. The forest stops feeling hostile, becomes a place with resources. Why it works. Slow breathing tells your body you're safe. Parasympathetic system kicks in. Fear chemicals fade. You think straight. Last winter, a guy in Alaska got separated during a hunt. Phone dead, storm coming. He remembered box breathing from a video. Sat for 10 minutes, calmed down, used the sun to find south, walked out alive. Contrast that with stories where people ran blindly. Hypothermia hit faster because panic raised their metabolism. Burned calories they couldn't replace. 2. Your mind is the most powerful tool in the invisible backpack. Train it like any muscle. Look at real cases from the last few years. 2023, woman in New Zealand, hiking alone, fell, broke ankle. No signal, no gear beyond basics. She kept fire going with coal method. Boiled water with hot rocks. Built a debris shelter. Used breathing to stay calm. Rescuers found her on day 4. Alive, warm, sane. 2024, hunter in Canada, lost in bush. No compass. Used tree moss to find north. Made cordage from inner bark to lash a splint on his twisted knee. Walked out in 3 days. These aren't superhumans. They're people who knew 1 or 2 skills more than the average hiker. Gear failed them, or they left it behind. Knowledge didn't. 72 hours, no backpack. Results: fire from friction. Coal kept for days. Water found and boiled safe. Shelter from leaves warmer than synthetic bags. Direction from sun and trees. Rope from plants. Knots that hold life. Mind calm under stress. Total gear carried, £0 extra. Total cost, $0. Survival rate, 100%. You don't need to do 72 hours to start. Begin small. Challenge 1. This week, make fire with bow drill. Even if it takes an hour. Succeed once, you own that skill forever. Challenge 2. Next week, find north using shadows or moss. Walk a short distance, prove it works. Challenge 3. Practice box breathing when stressed. Traffic, work, argument. Feel the calm come. Do these, your invisible backpack grows. Next time you're in trouble, you reach back and pull out knowledge instead of plastic. Most survival content sells you stuff. The wilderness doesn't care about your credit card. It cares about what you know. I've got more tests coming. If you watched up to this point, it means you liked this video. Subscribe now for more survival stories. Hit that bell. Comment below. Which skill are you trying first? Fire knots. Tell me. I'll reply. We'll build this together, because the best gear isn't bought, it's learned. See you in the next one. Stay sharp out there.